Hello guys, Shane Ward from IDthree. You can see that we're taking a different shape today. We're going to do today's broadcast in the shape of an interview. So let me introduce the panel. On my right is Leisha, who's going to be doing the interviewing. And on my left is my strategic business partner, Luan, who's going to be joining me in answering some of the questions that Leisha will pose to us. So, Leisha, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Shane. So let's go into our first question. Shane, since you have focused your studies, research and talks on trust and leadership, I presume you believe that there are gaps in both areas.
Yeah, well, I think to be quite blatant, high trust equals high performance, and the opposite is true. I think when we have trustworthy environments, we're able to pull so much more from the resources we have at our disposal. So let's make a distinction. We manage things and we lead people, and often leaders need to have a balance between the two. But let's talk directly about leadership. When you are leading people, each person that you lead has a potential of a maximum of 100%. Studies show that people are giving around 50 to 60% of their potential to the leader or to the organization that they represent. Now, I want to make the distinction again. It's not 50 or 60% of their time. They're giving 50 to 60% of their potential in brain power, in problem solving, in creativity, in adding to solutions. And businesses are made great by great solutions, by innovation. So the job of a leader, it's not always the problem of the leader, although it is in 70% of the time. Sometimes it's the problem of the employee, but it's the leader's role to be able to bring out and maximize. So if you think of people in a team of 20 delivering around 60% of their brain power to an organization, through investing a little bit of time, money, and instilling a trustworthy relationship and culture into that business, moving that from 60 to around 90%, because we never really achieve 100%. We get it to around 90%. What a massive difference we are able to make in this team. The truth is, when teams don't feel safe, then they don't feel like they belong. When they don't belong, they don't feel like they contribute. And if they're not contributing, then we're never ever going to get them to aspire. And what we want is teams who are full of aspirant members. We want people to continuously be dreaming about something better, to be aspiring to be better at what they do daily. So it's a massive job and a critical element of leadership to be able to draw out this aspiration and full potential from people.
So engagement of people is what you're really talking about, and for people to become engaged does obviously take a lot of trust. So, and Gallup over the last few years, every year does an engagement survey, and I think it was in the 2019 survey, it showed that something like only 8% of people at average internationally are actually engaged. That just means, from my point of view, that people love to, want to, choose to do what they do. So they give discretionary energy. It's not just a habitual task. So leadership role is really to lean into that space of how do we create engagement? How do we create an environment where people feel trust, where they feel like you're genuinely interested in them? I think that is so important that people realize, hey, my leader is interested in my well-being, is interested in my journey in this organization. The second thing that's important is people need to be able to make the connection between their effort and something greater than themselves. And that's what we call purpose. And purpose is not about self-significance. It's actually about making the world a better place. Great leaders know how to help people see how the world should be. And they know how to create words and pictures and feelings and make systems and structures and management of things obedient to that greater picture. And not to manage people, but just as you said earlier, it's like we lead people, we manage things. And what helps us to make a differentiation is we lead systems and structures and technology and finances to empower people so that they can move towards that common purpose.
Shane, what have you observed in the boardrooms of businesses you have worked with?
I worked with some really great leaders, and a couple where hopefully they're watching this. I recall one particular situation where I was part of executive, and the CEO came in and announced that there was going to be a significant change in the business that would have affected all 400 of our frontline staff, not of the back-end staff, but all 400 frontline staff significantly. There was initially a little bit of resistance, which quietened down. He had made his mind up. He was looking for a rubber stamp from Exco. I really genuinely felt that it would harm the business tremendously, and so probably labored the point, or definitely labored it longer than he would have liked. After 2 days in Exco, the decision obviously went through, and I asked for a video conference directly with the CEO to really appeal to him and to take time to outline why I felt that this was not going to be successful. The answer to me was posed as a question, was, why are you not buying in? What is it about you that you just don't buy in to the strategic intent of the business? And what it did to me was, first of all, I phoned, there's 4 directors in the room outside of the CEO. I phoned the other 3 directors and found out that there were actually 3 of the 4 of us who strongly disagreed with the move that was going to be made. But everyone was quiet as opposed to me. In the next boardroom meeting, I was also quiet. And that is because what happens is, when you are threatened, or if you feel threatened, nobody threatened me, but when you feel a bit threatened, your brain goes into what we call an amygdala hijack. And we see this in so many boardrooms, which is your initial question. We see boardrooms and the members of executives and team members in an amygdala hijack. And what that means is the amygdala senses something that it has felt before, and that is fearful. And so it goes into freeze, flight, or fight mode. And when that happens, the amygdala hijacks the neocortex, which is where all our rational and smart thinking comes from. So what you get is a room full of people, or a boardroom, who are no longer thinking rationally. They are fearful, they are emotional, and most of the time they actually just freeze. But they're very good at being able to cover this up. They don't look like they've been hijacked. They just look like they're nodding and agreeing with everything that's going on. Don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I think it's such a common situation that happens in boardrooms or in strategic sessions. And it really stems from, what type of leader should I be? It stems from this idea that as a leader, I should have all the answers. It also stems from this idea as we climb the corporate ladder, I should have all the ideas. And so then you get rewarded for having all the ideas. So typically what happens is, as you pick up ideas out there, you would go into a boardroom and say, this was my idea, and this is what I've been doing. And you self-promoting all the time, because this is what gets rewarded in the system itself. And then when people have other ideas contrary to yours, your best job is just to discredit it. And so people, to make themselves look good quickly, is just to make somebody else look bad. And then obviously there's the reward in that. So if I have an idea that's contrary to yours, I'm going to be made look bad. So very quickly I realize this is not how we do things here. And so when leadership idea is that if I'm a good leader, people will always agree with me, that is actually a very poor style of leadership. Our job as leaders is to get people to think differently in the same direction, which is slightly more complex. And it leads us back to the idea of trust. That if I trust that I employed the right people around me, and they're coming to give me ideas that's going to help us move forward, that's maybe going to challenge some of our ideas so we may improve it, so that we maybe build strategies that will actually move us forward And we're not married to those strategies. We actually engage with one another, and the best strategies is where we together can improve those strategies. So we may adjust it. What doesn't change is, again, that purpose we spoke about.
Yes.
So great leaders get people to think differently in the same direction. So why do we disguise in a boardroom? Well, I'm going to get punished. I want to climb the corporate ladder. And it leads back to this idea of needs. So we have these needs for certainty. It's something that's in all of us. Now, if I find my certainty in the salary that I get, or the position that I hold, or the opportunity that I have, and it's threatened by me having an idea, well, then I'll just be quiet. It's as simple as that. And so we disguise that. So when a lion attacks me, I'm going to run, or I'm going to climb a tree. But now the conditions is of such, if I just agree with you, I'm safe. And therefore I posture and I just agree with you all the time. But when I leave the room, there's something we call a water cooler conversation. That's where the real conversations happen if we have leadership that won't let us disagree. So important then for leaders to realize if we're going to build trusting relationships, we need to have environments where people can share their real thoughts, real fears, real ideas, real concerns, and their real potential strategies they want to bring to the table in a safe way. Would you like to tell us more about creating that environment? Because you've practiced it a lot, Shane.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, in the position I was, there was probably 250 years of combined experience in the room. Had this team of smart people being allowed to ventilate their thoughts and co-create a journey with the leader, we would have averted what ended up to be a very costly mistake. Learning from those things when leading the teams I have, I've almost allowed my opinion to go last. So I am most certainly a visionary and very happy and feel very confident to set vision. But then the how to do the vision, how to get there, belongs to the mandate of my team. And we co-create together. So leadership needs cooperation, without a doubt. We need people to cooperate. Otherwise, we're never, ever going to be able to mobilize and achieve the goals that we set out for ourselves. But the co-creation enables people to believe that this is ours and not yours. And that's a major, major difference. So when we organized around meetings, we had an objective. We would put through a scenario, and I would speak last because I encouraged my leaders to think. And the more they thought, the more smarter our responses came. Because collective intelligence is 99% of the time better than one individual brain. When you allow people to express themselves, as Luan very rightly pointed out, they have a strong sense of belonging. They feel like their opinions are valued. So when you ask them for their opinion, they don't just give you something off a 2-minute thought pattern. They spend days before. Now that's the evolution I saw. At the end of my sessions with my teams, the longer we spent together, the more creative, the more brilliant their thinking became. And it enabled me as a leader to make exceptional decisions based on outstanding input from people who I always knew were clever. But now I was allowing them to show their creativity, their smartness, and their ability to problem solve.
So Shane, you shared with us a story of in your last business where you became disengaged and almost kept quiet. Could you share with us what happened with that strategy after it was implemented?
Well, I think the first thing to note was the strategy was always going to be implemented because that was the intention of the leader when he came into the executive, was not really to create this strategy, but to get it approved. Unfortunately, it had very flimsy buy-in, and in many cases, no buy-in at all from the executive leadership. So when you're cascading that down and you're not convicted about something, it's very difficult. We had an obligation to execute, and we did that. But the 400 people who were affected had no buy-in whatsoever. And so the leadership was forced to continue to evolve and change and manipulate that strategy to make it more palatable, until it looked quite dissimilar to what it was originally supposed to look like. And then there was just abject failure. So it was rejected. It failed. It was an extremely costly failure. It cost the business quite a lot of money. And then the rug was pulled. So it was moved. And the sad bit is, it really could have been averted. There were enough people who had strong, solid business reasons why we could have done things a whole lot better.
So sometimes we have strategies that actually in itself is some serious problems. And the people who actually do the work can see it a mile away. But most of the time strategies fail, not because it's not the right strategy, it's because we don't have buy-in. Now, if I have a mindset that I have to bring the best strategy and get approval from everybody and get them just to agree to do it, what happens is people are not co-creating, and people don't do well to be told what to do. This is not a rebellious streak. This is actually how we are designed. We are designed to co-create. We are designed to do things relationally. We can't take hold of what we're told of. We need to create conversations around these things. And when we employ people, they have got some good thinking in them. Now, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't see everything there is to see. And great leaders know this. They know that I'm improving the quality of my thinking. So, Shane, as you spoke earlier, as I went into rooms, I left my opinion to last. What you were actually doing is you were improving your thinking. Now, when I improve my thinking, I actually get to make better decisions. What happened to people is they feel like, wow, this guy's genuinely interested in my idea. And so creativity starts developing. Now, many people don't know how to think creatively. They just know how to comply. So suddenly, as you said, they actually got better at it over time because it's a part of the brain. We're starting to stimulate. We're starting to use it. It's like a muscle that's starting to activate. And now we're starting to get better quality thinking in our organization. And we all know we live from the way we think. And so as we get people to think around things, they actually start getting a better picture. Now, as a leader, it's your job to give them that better picture, to help make connections between their thinking, their behaviors, their actions, and the strategies they put into place towards that common purpose. And then we implement. So we don't seek as leaders approval of our strategies. We seek to improve our strategies through collective thinking. And that's quite challenging. And so I think it was Peter Drucker who said, like, culture will eat your strategy for breakfast and your technology for lunch. And the reason is culture is the way people think or believe and the values they carry collectively. And if you don't upgrade that belief and give those values direction towards a common purpose, what happens is subconsciously they start resisting.
So Luan, in light of the high level information that we have discussed today, what invitation would you like to share with your viewers today?
Imagine as a leader, your burden was light and you had a yoke on you that kept you in good direction, but it was made to fit you. Imagine you had people around you who love hanging with you, who brings ideas to the table, who walks away and actually does that, where they feel the confidence they can make decisions because you've pushed authority to them, not just responsibility. Imagine as a leader, you can focus on the things that will move the organization forward and make the world in your environment as it should be. Imagine you've got staff and people around you who make quick decisions, who come very quickly back to you when they are stuck, where they need skills development, where they need mindset upgrades, and they're confident to talk to you. Imagine your thought pattern is continuously increasing and improving because you're leaning into relationships. Wouldn't that be an amazing world? Wouldn't it be an amazing world when your key stakeholders, your key clients are fully engaged with you because that same engagement is actually sitting within all our relationships. That same trust moves through it. This is what IDthree is really about. It's helping you build an organization that can start building that type of trust that lasts, that's strong, that can handle coronavirus, that can handle ups and downs in economies, that can help us and propel us forward as teams, as individuals, and as organizations.
I'm busy. How many times have you heard that from a leader? I am so busy. That word is, I'm so busy, or that phrase is generally a boast disguised as an excuse. The problem is leaders are busy, but are they busy doing the right thing? Are they busy leading? Are they busy with the things that move organizations and change profit volumes? The truth is they're not. We at IDthree want to do something a little bit different. We don't want to come in with a template and impose it on your organization. What we really want to do is we want to co-create with you. So we're going to take all these fundamentals that we're talking to you about, and we actually want to share those fundamentals with you. We want to sit with you as a leader, and let's understand your context. Where are you leading from, and where are you leading to? Let's upgrade where you're leading to, make it even brighter and stronger. Let's make it clear. Let's upgrade where you are currently to make that journey a joyful one, a productive one that is filled with success, co-creation, and enjoyment. So finding context and moving towards these goals. We would like, our invitation is really to flip it and say, invite us. We'd love to come and work with you, to co-create with you, to get you to be the very best you can be, so that you can pull out the very best of the people that you're leading. I'm Shane from IDthree, and that wraps up today.